The Great Train Robbery, the crime that shocked Britain. Part 1, the setup and the signal. The night was quiet, too quiet. August 8, 1963. Across the British countryside, the Royal Mail train thundered south from Glasgow toward London, carrying more than letters. Inside those sealed mailbags were millions in used banknotes, the lifeblood of a rebuilding nation. But somewhere ahead, hidden behind trees and silence, a small team of men waited. Men who had studied every second of that journey. Men who believed they could stop time, if only for a moment. Cue faint ticking clock. Their leader, Bruce Reynolds, wasn't your ordinary criminal. He was smooth-spoken, calm, almost elegant, a thief who saw art in precision. He wanted one job that would make history, not blood. To him, violence was messy, but perfection, that was beautiful. So he gathered a crew unlike any Britain had seen. Lock experts, signalmen, mechanics, strongmen, each chosen for skill, not loyalty. They called themselves the Firm. 18 men, one plan, and a promise: no one gets hurt. For months they studied the Royal Mail timetable, tracing its route through fields and tunnels. Then they found it, a lonely stretch of track near Ledburn in Buckinghamshire, where no one ever stood watch. There they could control the rails and vanish into the dark before anyone knew the train had stopped. Short pause, sound of crickets, and night breeze. To halt a train that size, all they needed was one red light. A signal, a simple trick of color, would turn order into chaos. With a screwdriver and a pair of insulated gloves, one of the crew climbed the small signal box. He rewired the circuit so that when the train approached, the green light of safety would glow blood red. Sound, faint electric buzz, click of switch. Back at the farmhouse hideout, Reynolds watched the clock. Every tick was a heartbeat. Every minute pulled them closer to a point of no return. He checked his watch again. 3 a.m. Low, distant rumble of train grows louder. The Royal Mail train was approaching Ledburn. The signal ahead now glowed red through the fog. Driver Jack Mills saw it and eased the brakes, confused. There should have been no stop here. Steam hissed, wheels screeched, the countryside went still. And in that breath of silence, 18 men held their breath too. This was it. Months of planning balanced on one flickering light. Train stops, brief silence, then faint footsteps on gravel. In the darkness, shadows moved. Figures emerged from the trees, their faces hidden, their hearts pounding. The red light glowed against the steel rails, and Britain's most famous train had just been trapped by a single color. Fade to black, low suspense music rises. Narrate Heist itself. Opening, low hum of the countryside, faint metallic creak of a train cooling. Narrator, calm, tense voice. The train was silent. The countryside still as death. Only the soft hiss of steam broke the night. Jack Mills, the driver, leaned out of the window. The signal was still red, but no reason for it. He grabbed his lamp, ready to step out and investigate. And that's when he saw them. Sound, muffled footsteps on gravel, quiet rustling. Figures move in the dark, quiet, controlled, but unmistakably there. Before Mills could react, hands grabbed him. A voice whispered, "Keep quiet, mate, and no one gets hurt." The robbers had boarded. Inside the locomotive, the air smelled of oil and fear. The gang moved fast, rehearsed, one man cutting the communication line, another detaching the first two carriages from the rest of the train. They didn't need all 72 wagons, just the first ones. Those were the money cars. Sound, metallic clank, chain disconnecting, muffled orders whispered. They forced open the door. Mail bags lined the interior like silent guards of fortune. Each bag was heavy, stuffed with cash that would never reach London. Then came the first hitch. The man assigned to drive the locomotive, a thief known for confidence, not competence, froze. He didn't know the controls. The engine stared back at him with levers and gauges he'd never seen. Sound, faint hum, uneasy silence. Time slowed. Every second they wasted was a risk. And Bruce Reynolds knew it. He had planned everything, except this. Jack Mills tried to resist, but the robbers forced him to move the train a few hundred yards forward, just enough to reach the bridge where the getaway trucks waited below. In that moment, the plan teetered on chaos. Mills was struck on the head. Not to kill, just to control. But the sound of that blow would haunt the story forever. Sound, sharp impact, breath held, then silence. Now they were under the bridge. The trucks waited. The gang worked like soldiers. Mailbags tossed down, stacked, counted. No shouting, no panic, just speed. 2,600,000 pounds. Every note used currency, marked for destruction, perfect for stealing. They had pulled off what would become Britain's most famous robbery, and it took them just 30 minutes. Sound, heartbeat rising, soft engine idling. As the last bag hit the truck bed, Reynolds looked around. No sirens, no lights, no witnesses, only the stars and the whisper of victory. They left the crew tied but alive. They left no fingerprints, or so they thought. Then quietly, the trucks rolled into the darkness. The countryside swallowed them whole. Music, low driving rhythm builds, then fades. The Royal Mail train sat motionless in the field. Its lights flickered weakly. Inside, the remaining crew struggled to free themselves, their hearts racing faster than the wheels that had just stopped turning. And as dawn approached, police across Buckinghamshire were waking to the impossible truth. A train, robbed in the middle of nowhere. Its fortune vanished without a trace. Pause, faint morning birds, slow sunrise. Narrator, lower tone. For Bruce Reynolds and his crew, it was a triumph beyond measure. But triumph, in their world, never lasts. Because while the world was still sleeping, the greatest manhunt in British history was already beginning. The aftermath and the legend. Dawn broke over Buckinghamshire, and the countryside was no longer silent. By sunrise, the air was filled with the wail of sirens and the hum of disbelief. A Royal Mail train robbed in the night. Millions missing. 18 men vanished without a trace. Sound, camera clicks, reporters shouting in distance. The newspapers went mad. The crime of the century, screamed the headlines. No one could believe it. Not a bullet fired, not a gunshot heard, and yet a fortune gone. For Bruce Reynolds and his crew, the first hours felt like freedom. They hid at Leather Slade Farm, their secret hideout, sorting the money, laughing, toasting the impossible. They had done it, the perfect crime. But perfection doesn't last long. Sound, ticking clock, low murmurs, wind creaking old wood. Days passed. Paranoia grew. The radio buzzed with police updates. Roadblocks appeared. Neighbors whispered. And one mistake would change everything. Someone left fingerprints on a ketchup bottle. A single careless touch in the farmhouse. And the police had their first clue. Sound, police boots, dogs barking faintly. Within weeks, the countryside swarmed with detectives. The robbers began to scatter, some to London, others abroad. But the manhunt was relentless. One by one, they were caught, in cars, in safe houses, even in foreign lands. Bruce Reynolds fled to Mexico, then Canada, living under false names. But he could never escape the weight of the story. His fortune ran out, his freedom thinned, and after 5 long years on the run, he turned himself in. The courts made an example of them. 30-year sentences, harsh, legendary, unforgettable. Britain wanted justice, but what they created was myth. Because the Great Train Robbery was more than a crime. It was a symbol of rebellion, of daring, of the thin line between genius and greed. Music, slow piano, rising softly beneath the words. Bruce Reynolds once said, "We weren't violent men, we just wanted to change our stars." But stars burn out, and every legend, no matter how bright, leaves shadows behind. Sound, slow fade, echo of a train whistle in the distance. Today, the story of the Great Train Robbery lives on in books, films, and whispers across Britain. The tracks that let burn are still there, quiet, ordinary. But if you stand there long enough, you might still feel it. That moment when time stopped, and history was stolen in the dark. Every crime tells a story, but some stories outlive the men who wrote them. The Great Train Robbery wasn't just about money. It was about daring, precision, and the price of ambition. If you followed this far, thank you for taking this journey into one of history's boldest moments. But our story doesn't end here, because next time we'll open another forgotten file, another mystery buried in time. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, so you don't miss the next great story that changed the world forever. History never sleeps. It just waits to be told again.